Welcome to Diversity Conversations, where we engage in thought-provoking dialogue to identify leadership solutions to today's most challenging conflicts. Streamed live each week, Saturday 9:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. Hosted by Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Strategist and CEOs Eric Ellis and Tommy Lewis. Join us and add your voice to this engaging diversity conversation.
Good morning, Greater Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, the United States, and the world. My name is Eric Ellis, and I'm the president and CEO of Integrity Development Corporation.
And I'm joined here by me and Eric, Tommy Lewis, president and CEO of Make It Plain Consulting. Good morning, Eric.
Good morning, Tommy. How you doing, man?
Doing good, doing good. It's a beautiful day once again. Excited today. A lot of football.
Ooh, man, we had so much fun last night. My wife says, now I know that I had 4 boys, not 3, 4, including you. We took the roof off the house yesterday.
Did you?
I mean, we were having such a ball waiting for that Ohio State game, and it did not disappoint at all, Tommy.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't believe it because I thought that Notre Dame game was so exciting. There was no way you could top that in terms of level of excitement.
Right. So when did you start to prepare to watch the game?
I thought I prepared probably right after Notre Dame. I was thinking now, I almost didn't get to sleep. Ohio State's the ball. And I just wanted to trash them, just dog them out right from the beginning to the end. And they came out, man, and they stopped them on the first series. And then they scored right away. And so I said, oh, here we go. And then, boy, we just got too overexcited, too hyped. And, Henderson just lost his mind. But we laughed about that. What'd you say happened to him?
Yeah, he was unconscious. Yeah. And the competitive spirit, this is the running back for Ohio State University, who had, after the play, he was tackled. And all players are chirping. They all talking trash to one another. And he went on and mushed them in the face. Right. This is after the play.
I'm not the one.
Yeah.
Refs, everybody.
Not the one. Not today. Right. I'm 6 feet tall. You're 6'6", right? I'm 210 pounds. You are 295 pounds.
I don't care.
I'm here all day.
I will hit you in your face.
I'm here, right?
And I'm so glad he didn't throw him out the game.
Right.
Because he threw a punch.
Yeah, he did.
He just threw a punch. Now, so that slowed them down because they was on their way to another touchdown.
Yeah. And
then they had another big penalty that set them back. So after a while, they just lost their rhythm. And then Texas scored, and so it was supposed to go into halftime 7-7 with 39 seconds left. I say to Eric, take a knee and get ready for the second half. They did not take a knee.
Nope.
They threw the screen pass to him. Same kid that got the big penalty now is mad, and he says, I'm going to make up for that, and runs a touchdown,
75 yards. He went 75 yards to the house. I mean, in a heartbeat. You don't understand how significant that was from taking a knee.
Right.
Let's go lick our wounds.
Right.
I'm going to chew you out from punching the guy.
Right.
We're going to whoa.
Yeah, it was going to be a somber halftime.
Yep.
It was going to be a somber halftime because we had beat them up the whole first half, but now it's tied.
Yep.
So they got all the momentum because even though we've outplayed them, it's 7-7.
Yep.
Wait a minute. We're not done. And I think a huge touchdown like that, it changes your whole halftime speech.
Yeah.
Because now it says to your team, all we need is one play.
That's it. We're one play away. That's it, E. We're one play away. Any given play, we're one play away.
We better than you.
Absolutely.
And so that then took all the win out the sails of Texas, too. Now they got a different halftime speech as well.
Yep.
You played your worst halftime and you're tied. Nope.
Yep.
You're down 7 and they get the ball back. So that was just so much fun. I'll tell you what I saw yesterday is the power of sports to heal the racial divides that exist.
Say it, Eric.
As you look at these young men loving each other as brothers, as family, as you see the fans hugging each other, you realize that we need more of these kinds of things. It shows the power of sports to bring us together as a people. So,
and sports in its purest sense, team oriented, even if it's one player sport, there's a team behind them, coaches, trainers, etc. It's always been that way, that there's a common denominator of winning and preparation to play to win.
Right.
And so that's as a common denominator that really trumps, if you will, all other differences.
Right.
It's around proper preparation, execution, and the desire to achieve a mutual outcome of winning. That's important, Eric, because you and I play sports, and other folks who are listening now may be wondering, why are we starting with talking about sports? I would say that this conversation around sports is that two things. One, it's unifying, or it can be polarizing. Those who don't care for sports may tune out. Right. And those who care about it, like I watch the game or I watch other sports, and I know how unifying sports can be. The other is when we, from a human perspective, we are all more than what we do.
Absolutely.
Eric. So you and I are professionals, just like a lot of other people out in our community are professionals. They have their jobs, they have their careers, they have their families, and they also have other interests.
Right.
And so this that we're talking about right now is just one of many interests that we have. And we invite our community to, as we have diversity conversations, explore different interests. Maybe listen to a conversation that you're less familiar with.
Right.
And have no interest.
Right.
So that's why I think talking about sports and other things is so, so important.
Right. And we have certainly heard over the years that even though women in football are 48% of the fans.
Yep.
And I would say that of younger women, it's over 50%. It's like 56 or 58%. And so women are moving into this area as well. It used to be, if we said, if guys were always talking about sports, it felt like it was leaving people out of the conversation. The thing I thought about, Tommy, yesterday was I was thinking about the importance of building a culture within the companies that we work with and serve.
Okay.
That what if you could create the same kind of culture that some of the best sports teams have created? What I've saw in both quarterbacks that are going to be in the national championship final game, both of them threw away balls, played a bit mediocre.
Yeah.
And yet they were the offensive player of the game. And what I saw more clearly from Will Howard yesterday was almost kind of embarrassment that I'm getting this trophy, because it took my team bailing me out for us to win.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's a powerful thing to see as well.
Yeah. Sometimes it's when you really know it's not just you.
Yeah.
And you know it's the team.
Yeah.
It is a little bit of an embarrassment that I accept this individualized award or recognition, but it's the team. And so if you are one of humility, sincerity, you recognize the team in receiving an individual gift.
Right.
Right. So I mean that sincerely. You do it all the time, Eric. I know I do. T. Cooley does it. Welcome and good morning, T. Cooley. But it's when we receive these individual awards and we're playing a team sport, or it takes a team effort to achieve something, give recognition to the team. Right.
This morning, we are going to talk about, our topic for today is finding love and the right relationship. And Tommy and I have spent some time doing research and looking over this. Terry Cooley, I want to take a moment before we even get into our topic to say, man, we've been praying for you. We've been thinking about you. I've called Terry several times. Our community is probably very familiar with all of the fires that have been just running rampant in Los Angeles, California, and all the people that have just been smoked out of their places. I mean, it's just like bomb, apocalyptic is what they've been using, the words that they have been using. And I tell you, it puts a lot in perspective when you see a whole city, a whole neighborhood can go up in flames.
Yeah, Eric, this again, T. Cooley, prayers, thoughts, and anything else we might be able to offer you, your family, and your community, let us know. The other thing is, Eric, I do want our community to know that those who are not in the Los Angeles or the West Coast region, South Carolina, California, et cetera, that these are real people. So sometimes when we watch the news, it's that thing out there and over there.
Right.
Especially if you don't experience fires.
Right.
If you don't experience inclement weather like 12, 18, 24 inches of snow, things like that. It seems like there is at times a disconnect that though that situation and those people are not real, they are very real.
Right.
And so I want to again double down on what Eric is saying. T, we're looking out for you, man. We know you do what you do. You're a survivor, and everyone else around you are survivors. But we do know that God is the way.
Is the provider for us. And Terry, here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to put your contact information here so that our community can see that. If you put up your phone number, your mailing address, your email address, so that people, if they want to, and then if there's some things that you specifically need, he's a foster dad. He's got 4 boys that he is working with, and he's navigating all of that. Yeah. Terry, I know you won't. I can't even trust you to put up what you need because he won't.
Right.
But put up your address, and this is straight from heaven. I hear the word of the Lord saying, put up your address, your email address, your phone number, so that our community can reach out and help you. We're not just trying to send stuff to Red Cross. God bless them. When there are real people that are in the midst of war zones, we want to make sure that we are here to be helpful to you, my brother.
Yep.
Today, I'll tell you the part of the reason why this topic is so important to me, because my wife is looking at me like, why are y'all talking about relationships? I said, well, it is a critical diversity conversation.
Yes, it is.
And as a father of 4 adult children, I'm very interested in each of them finding love and the right relationship. And Tommy, I'm concerned that this generation of young, especially African Americans, are either less interested in, or they're finding it more difficult to find somebody that is a fit for them. So we started doing research around, so what are some of the things that create greater barriers for African Americans? We know that last year, only 29% of African American adults were married, compared to 48% of adults in general. We saw that even things like interracial dating has an influence. So we're going to start and just go down the line of some of the things that are impacting young African Americans in their ability to find love and the right relationship. We want you to weigh in, because I'm going to tell you that we're thinking in many ways, what can parents do? If you have somebody that is the right relationship and you're thinking, man, I wish I could show this young lady or this young man to a whole body of people, so that I can help facilitate them finding each other in the world. That's kind of where I am. I'm not a father that doesn't think that any young man is good enough for my daughter. I'm not a father that thinks there's no young lady that's good enough for my sons. I really believe that they're still all works in progress themselves. Yeah. But my eyes are wide open, man. I'm looking for people that might be the right fit. And y'all, community, I'm believing that this is a part of the role and responsibility that we have. It's not to just sit back and hope that they get this right, that we've got to, in many ways, become actively involved in making sure that our children, our friends, that they have advocates for them that are out here looking.
Yeah, and I want to encourage our community to chime in too. As you all know, we're not just taking calls, but we're going to allow you to join us via video, via audio, etc. But if you are married and there are some lessons learned, please share. If you are not married and you have an interest or a desire to get married, please share, because we want to unpack this concept of marriage. The data shows, and it will show, that there's the marriage of today may be defined differently than the marriage of yesteryear.
Right.
right?
Right.
From different generations, different expectations, et cetera, et cetera. So we want to do that. Invite our community to join us.
Right. And Kendall, I know that you are a preacher, I think even a pastor or assistant pastor. If you would, Lydia, if you can put up our site, our link, so that our community can jump on with us.
Yep.
Yeah, that's excellent. I'd like to invite at least Kendall, if you would, man, to join us here in this conversation, because I know you've done probably a lot of marriage counseling and things like that. And
Absolutely.
I think that you have some words that could be helpful. We're going to share just a couple of things that are impacting African Americans. Number one, there's declining marriage rates. There was a couple studies in 2021, 2024 that showed that only 29% of African American adults are married as compared to 48% of people in general. Economic factors are influencing that. High rates of unemployment, wage gaps, economic instability disproportionately affect African Americans, making marriage less financially feasible for many. Tommy, you ever thought about that?
I do. The first thing that comes to my mind is, should one marry because of access to financial health or depression? I mean, financial depression, not psychological depression. In other words, should money matter when it comes to marriage? If there are declining marriage rates, and one of the reasons is it's less financially feasible, does that make sense? I mean, it may or may not.
Right. I would say, to me, Tommy, it doesn't. It's like if you love somebody, then we'll make this work.
Yep.
And two of us fighting together, but it's almost like the same decision that I had to make when I decided to give my life to God. Oftentimes you say to yourself, well, I can't commit to serving God until I get my life together. Well, you ain't actually going to be able to get your life together without God.
Indeed.
And so I think it's the same way in a marriage. I can't get married until I get everything financially put in order. Well, you may never get there. And so if you love somebody enough that you believe that this is the one, I believe that, finances should not be something that keeps us from getting married.
Yeah, I think that, Eric, there is another opportunity where when you think of marriage and going into the bond of marriage, it should increase one's everything. So the individual people who are indeed individuals, when they come together, what is increased tenfold? Love, protection, security, finances, shelter, all of these things should be increased because you have what the Bible says, the three cords. You have that one person, the other person, and the Holy Spirit.
Right, that's right.
So if you think that we are not prepared to be married because we are not in a financial position, the blessing of marriage is the opportunity that is missed. Right. So I only have $2 right now, and I can't get married with $2.
Right.
But your significant other has $2. And if you're really thinking about marriage, if you come together, you have $4 versus scratching on $2. Again, not to minimize $2 to $4, et cetera. We know that the same reason why, I don't know if the data shows it here, but one of the reasons of divorce is finances.
Yep.
So people are not getting married because of finances and getting divorced because of finances.
Right.
We might need to take that piece out of the equation of marriage.
Let me ask you this, and community, I certainly love you to weigh in as well. Is it harder to find love today than it was 10, 15, 20 years ago? With all the things that are available to us today, online dating, I mean, there's so many different apps and so many different ways to find people. What do you think, Tommy? What are you sensing?
I think it is.
Okay.
Per my experience, I have my wife. She has her friends, and some of them are unwed, and they have shared with her in certain terms that, hey, it's rough out here, right? There's a lot of games that are being played.
Yeah,
there are
buddy.
a lot of unrealistic expectations, right? There are a lot of misconstrued and disaligned morals and values, let alone the high criteria that individual people have about other individuals that they're going to hire.
Right.
So there is, and some of you visit this on Facebook or YouTube, things like that. There are all these feeds around relationships, and there is a term called high value man. Okay. And a high value man in community, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not going to get everything right, but it's like a man who makes $250,000 a year, a man that has this type of home at $250 to $500 to $1 million value home, has access to 2 or 3 vehicles, has a credit score of 800. Really, this is a criteria, a checklist that some people have when evaluating a man, and they themselves may have nothing on that checklist.
Right.
So the difficulty in finding a mate, a marriage, I think is very hard today than it was a while back. I'm glad, Eric, that I'm not in the game.
Right. And so the research says that the role of online dating, technology, the influence it's having, the use of dating apps and social media have expanded the dating pool, but also introduced challenges such as superficial connections and racial bias in the algorithms.
Oh my goodness.
And so that's one of the challenges that people are faced with. I mean, African Americans often face biases on dating platforms affecting their experiences and outcomes. And then just people just building themselves up on social media to be something that they're not.
Yeah.
And so people are getting exhausted with that process, just going through click, one phony after another phony, which leads you to almost a hopelessness.
I would agree, Eric. I would agree. I am finding that there are a number of folks that I know personally that have opted out of officially getting married, and they're just cohabitating.
Right.
They're choosing to cohabitate over marriage. And the research says that increase in cohabitation. Cohabitation is rising as an alternative to marriage, particularly among young African Americans.
Right.
And I would say that, African Americans is a culture, but we can look at minority groups. Minority is not only racial, ethnic, it's other minority groups. But it says here nearly 59% of Black adults under 35 report cohabitating before marriage or as a substitute. In other words, we can live together without the law or the bond of marriage.
Right.
Literally, we will be girlfriend, boyfriend, forever, whatever.
Right.
And
my grandmother had a comment for that. I'm going to bring back my grandma right now.
Come on.
She said, why buy the cow if you can get the milk for free?
Indeed.
That's what grandma said. Now, I know it's out of date, out of style, but I'm saying to you and community, I want you to weigh in on this. Is that the wave of the future? Is this where we should be? Where 59% of African Americans under the age of 35 are choosing to cohabitate versus get married. Tommy, what are let's look at both sides of that.
Yeah.
What are the benefits of cohabitating? Let's start there.
One is financially.
Okay. Yep.
Right. So if I decided to bolt, for real, I'm not legally bound to owe you anything like alimony. Right. Even this morning on the radio, as I was coming into the studio, there was a young man, we'll say a man, that was calling about
I heard that
situation that he had married a woman,
right,
and that woman had a child before they got together,
right,
and he basically with her raise the child.
Right.
She is now filed for divorce and is trying to force her recently ex-husband, to pay child support
For a baby that's not his and he didn't adopt.
So if you are cohabitating, you don't have to deal with anyone.
Right.
Legally?
Later.
Okay. Right? In fact, I would rather not buy the cow.
Okay, right.
Right?
The milk ain't
There's
no good.
too many cows on the pasture. Right? So in that moment of my life, I saw you,
right,
and you were the best thing smoking.
Mm-hmm.
But I know me, and I get bored.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be better for me not to be married to you. It may be even better for you not to be married to me,
right,
if we see a better cow.
Right. So you're saying that let's not legally get all caught up in tying this thing together before we know if we're actually the right fit.
Yeah.
That this is either a test drive or we can just see our compatibility through a trial relationship versus trying to tie this all up.
And some folks, Eric, say literally that the reason why they don't get married and they decide to cohabitate is that, first of all, they're not going to be told by the man what to do and how to define what they call marriage.
Okay.
That's what they say.
Okay.
And so if I'm doing all the things that the traditional married man does for my significant other, right? I'm not calling her, in this case, my wife.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm doing everything that the married man is doing for his married wife, then I am married to my cohabitation partner.
Right.
It's silly to get married when we're doing the same thing. You're talking about loyalty, respect, love, finances, food, clothing, shelter, transportation, vacation, gifts, support, protection, all of that. I'm doing it without going to an altar, and
spending that money, and spending the money on a wedding.
That's the argument on the other side. We'd love to hear from the community who actually believe that, and not believe it, who live it.
Right. And Terry's saying companionship and financial support is a great reason to be together, but spiritually speaking, it is best to get married if you want to be if you're equally yoked. Yes. He says if you are equally yoked, then it's best to get married. I tell you, I have no judgment for people and whatever they do. For me, whatever you want to do, I'm supportive of that, whatever that is. But I'm very old school in terms of not living together, but really, if I love you that much or like you that much, and it's romantic, then we should be trying to head towards marriage. And my view is that if we're living together, I think it delays the decision to become committed. Let's see what Kendall has said here.
Yeah, and then I have a comment too. I'll read what Kendall says, and thank you, Dr. Wright. We have become so blinded by individualism, you're exactly right, such that we are unskilled at sacrificing for the good of others. Moreover, being unwilling and unable to submit your will to that of another. You're spot on. You're spot on. Here's a thought, Eric, for you and anyone else, particularly those who have adult-aged children. So you and others, myself, may be old school in our thinking.
Yeah.
Does that matter for our children who are marriage age? Does my values and morals in view of marriage matter to them? We may be 25, 30, 35 years different. And so I've heard adults who are ready to get married or cohabitate and not get married say, I don't think like you. I understand your morals, etc. And then sometimes the adult, the parent will say, well, I won't support you if you don't get alignment with me. So you're not going to live with that man. You're not going to live with that woman without being married, because that's the way I think. But that's not the way they think. So how do you reconcile your own morals and values and views of marriage versus the morals, values, and views of your child or children or someone different that you love?
So I'll tell you that a couple of ways to look at this. Number one, I'm old school here, so I'm more like this old school piece. And my children, in many ways, are. They have seen the model that we've lived before them. I think in many ways they bought that model. Maybe they differ on how many children they want, but they're kind of looking at this model as if it ain't broke. And so I think that they're kind of more lined up with what we showed before them. I do not think that their generation is there. And so that's it's a big deal. This whole, moreover, being unwilling, unable to submit your will to that of another. The problem is, and Kendall, I think you'd agree with this, marriage doesn't change this.
Right.
This is still the same criteria that is necessary to cohabitate successfully as to be married.
Yeah.
It's the same. If we're under the same roof and we're trying to figure out who's cleaning, who's putting stuff away, who's cooking, who's paying for what, you're going to have to negotiate that. Yeah. And the skill, I just think that when you aren't married, then it's easier to say, if I don't like this, I'll check out.
So I do see a little bit of a difference between being married and submitting your will to another and not being married. So one way I see that is when you are submitting your will to another in the form of marriage, you're literally acquiescing your vulnerability and insecurities to that other person. You are making a bank deposit of your vulnerability coin into the account of the other person. There's high risk that I'm going to give you the secret about me, and I'm going to trust that you don't tell the world.
Right.
And the binding principle of the marriage is that I am doing this under the name of God or whatever higher spirit you are, religious factor you may believe in, if that's the case. But I'm saying, man, there's some things that you know about me that I would not tell the world ever. Mm-hmm. I don't care if it is on my dying bed, that I'm not going to reveal this, and my significant other knows this. I am giving my will of, as well as my will of decisions.
Right.
Right. Because God has already ordained our path, but he's given us the freedom of choice, our free will. And so I am also binding my will to you, that you are responsible for holding me accountable. Mm-hmm. But if we're not in that bind, that bond, right, then we're living together, but I'm going to step out on you just on GP, just because I can.
Okay.
Right? And there's a difference here with being married. And now I don't have a conscience to do it. So we're all sinners.
Right.
The thing is, do we have a conscience to remind us? And then we slip, fall, stumble, we all do it in one way, shape, or form.
Right.
But the marriage says we're going to do it either it's under the covenant and we're going to stay together or not. When you're not married, you're not necessarily bound by that covenant.
So let's throw some other things in to the pot as we are stirring this conversation around finding love and the right relationships. One of the other things that the research says is impacting African Americans is that 18% of Black people have married someone outside of their race. How do you feel about that, Tommy? First of all, let me tell you where I'm at on this. I'm fine. Whoever loves you, I'm going to love. And so whoever my kids love, whoever loves them, I'm going to be okay with that. I probably do have some preferences around it'd be nice if they find somebody within their own race, because I know of the difficulties that people have being married in and of itself. The more diverse you change those things, the more challenges that we're going to face. But marriage is something that we're going to have to fight together. If we love each other enough, then we certainly can live through anything. But there are a lot of norms in the Black community around this. We've seen Black men be more comfortable and be given more freedom, if you will, to marry outside of their race. When Black women do, that is certainly rising. There's still, it feels like there's more stigma around that, or they have less people that are coming to them. What are your thoughts about this, Tommy, and community? Certainly you weigh in as well.
Yeah, I have to come from a perspective that I've traveled the world, Eric, and I've seen a lot of different people. 55 different countries I've been blessed to step foot in. And there are people. What typically separates us is not necessarily the blood that flows through our veins. It's the practices and rituals and traditions that we honor.
Okay.
And those are coming from the previous generation, or our environment, those beliefs, norms, cultural traditions. And so if we're looking at interracial relationships, we have to look at defining what race is. If I am an African American, what does that mean? At least to me. And if I'm looking for love within that respective community, am I finding what I'm looking for in that community? If not, maybe I first look at finding love. It may be in another person that may be different than me by way of my race or ethnicity. But if there is love, then, and we decide to move toward marriage and get marriage, marriage is difficult in and of itself.
Yes, it is.
It is not
It's beautiful,
easy.
but it's challenging.
It's challenging. From an interracial perspective, we have to know and recognize that there will be some other challenges, maybe some uncovered blind spots around the other person's racial and cultural identity. So there's one thing to be married to a person of a different race, but I don't know if you or I could ever be a person of a different race. Right.
No,
I want to say that because I've seen that in marriages where there's African American and a Caucasian or a white person. They may even have a child or children. And I literally I coach with some couples like this. And there are situations that come up that one or the other has a blind spot around that person's lived experience. And it's not a negative blind spot all the time. Sometimes it invokes advocacy or anger. Why are you treating my daughter differently because I am this race? Right. It is my daughter. You don't have to question, is that my daughter or did I adopt her and all that? No. And then when you see my significant other, you question that and now your bias comes out. You didn't think I could be married to that person.
Right.
I've seen it. In closing, I've gained a lot of courage and insight talking to my married friends who are in interracial relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the end of the day, if they love each other and they're willing to learn and grow, because that's what's going to have to happen, because some of our biases are just going to bubble out, and we all have them. And so, we've got to be able to live through that and allow love to help us to live through that. Another impact on African-American finding love and the right relationship is the impact of education and career. The growing number of college-educated Black women has created disparities in marriage markets. There are fewer college-educated Black men available. This shifts expectations in dating. Tommy, we talked about this. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think that this is a complex area.
It is.
I have seen Black men that have said, give me a successful Black woman. I'll be a house husband any day. You know, if she goes out and brings home the bacon, you know, I'll sit around. And I've not seen that be the case. They say that, but they're not really comfortable with that.
Come on, man.
I've seen too many Black women that have to almost dumb themselves down because they have married insecure Black men who are jealous and offended over their success. That's a problem for me, Tommy. I think one of the most beautiful things in the world is if a Black woman finds a blue-collar Black man that doesn't have the same education that she does, but he loves her, he's proud of her, they work well together, she's proud of him, then I think that thing can work, man. Love and respect gets us there.
So from your perspective, and community chime in again here, when we see a career-driven, maybe even successful Black woman who's unmarried and is in the dating scene, what's the real reason why they might not be able to find, identify, even marry a Black man? What's the real reason?
Everybody else's expectations.
Indeed.
Everybody else's expectations of what you're supposed to be looking for, what you're supposed to find. Do you have someone who is equivalent? I think that people are built almost by nature to look at same. We look the same. We're attractive at the same level. We are career-wise at the same level. And so a lot of that is social as well. And so I think that nature, nurture, we're caught up in this thing. Here's what I know. At the end of the day, the thing I want you to look for is finding love and someone who we can respect each other. That should be paramount over everything else. And then we have to look at how can we navigate the rest of this.
So I don't know if the data shows this either, Eric. As you were speaking, I was thinking of this, that if there's an increase in Black women in particular who are elevating their educational status beyond a bachelor's degree, they're getting masters, MBAs, JDs, MDs, EDDs, PhDs, all that spaghetti behind their names. They have all of it, right? And certifications, all that good stuff. And so that may take several years, 4 years, 8 years, 12, 15 years to do all that. And then they are elevating in their careers. I think one of many reasons that these women may not find a man that is deemed compatible is like you said, what others are saying, and then optics. So in reality, as you were saying, I'm thinking of all of the banquets and things I go to and you go to. We see a lot of married couples. And I would hope that the highly educated, highly successful Black woman who has someone with them is proud to have that person with them. In other words, if I'm highly educated and I'm career driven, I speak a certain way because I pay for it through education or my career. I hold myself a certain way because of my image, brand, and reputation. All of that gives me some career equity. And I cannot afford to have my husband, my wife, muck everything up because they don't know how to put on clothes. They don't know how to shake a hand. They don't know how to do that. And I believe, not all cases, that as I'm elevating in my education and my career, and I'm looking across the landscape of opportunity, right? I'm saying, that's too much work there with him or her. Or that's too much work. Oh, there's a hell no. No, not even my friends will accept that.
Right.
But you hit it on the head. That's what other people will say.
Right. And I got a real big point I want to make here. This is, Judy, this is why Tommy and I are doing this show. So I can say this. Here's what I want to say to everybody in the community. We've been hoodwinked. We've been bamboozled. We've been tricked.
Come on.
And I'm not just saying this to Black women. I'm saying this to all of us. Hoodwinked, bamboozled, tricked into going after things in the world that are shiny and look like the things that we want to go after. Our career, our education. I can't look at marriage and a family till I get through all of this. That's not just on women. That's on all of us. We've been fooled. We've been hoodwinked, bamboozled out of the things that matter most. And so I'm saying to you, go get the education, go get the degrees, go get the JD, but go ahead and get married.
Yeah.
Go ahead and have yourself a family. Make sure that you're not looking up at 35, 40, 45.
Speak on it.
And now you realize that you have a strong desire for family, for children. And now you're not even sure if you can have children as a couple. And I'll tell you, it takes young people's energy to raise these kids, don't it, Tommy?
It does.
Because as soon as you start getting older, that's why our older kids, they got more discipline and everything. By the time we got to the younger ones, we started petering out a little bit.
Got loose.
So I'm telling you all that a part of what I'm saying is that we have to make sure that we don't get caught up in the shiny things around us and we miss the things that matter most. This is the reason why we're having this conversation, because I don't want my daughter to have to be out here looking all by herself.
Yep.
I don't want my sons to have to be looking all by themselves. I'm almost at the point of arranging marriages.
Yeah.
I mean, not totally there, but at least us communicating across families to help good people find each other.
So I think this is a good conversation. My wife and I, we have this conversation all the time. In fact, we used to have a few married couples over to the house, maybe 3 or 4.
That's good, Tommy.
So there's some 8 to 10 people in the house, and it was called Black Love Experience.
Okay.
And we would literally meet once a month over cheese, crackers, wine, and hors d'oeuvres, and we would talk the adult talk,
right,
and the real talk around marriage. And marriage is not, we're getting married, we had a wedding, and then that's it.
Right.
There's a marriage after the wedding. And for those who are in the honeymoon phase of 1, 2, 3, or 4 years, sometimes you can be in that phase, versus others who are 30, 35, 40 years in, those are different. They have different battle wounds, war scars, right? And there's a reason why we have this conversation. It's not just, in my opinion, not just about marriage. The topic is around positive relationships. How do you find love?
Right.
And love comes in different ways.
That's good, Tommy.
But love is love.
Right.
And are we done with love such that we don't need to talk about it anymore? You can be in the marriage and out of love.
Right.
Right. You can be in marriage and out of life.
Right.
I've seen it. Straight up. I work very hard because my beloved wife reminds me very often of what I can do to continue to ignite the flame of love in our marriage. At this point, we're not going away from one another.
Right.
But we have a mutually desired image of what we call love, happiness, and joy. Some of it is our children.
Right.
If we could not or did not have children, we would be in a different place.
Right.
So I know there's married couples 30 years in, don't have children, would have liked to have children, but that is now gone. And so they may find tremendous joy and happiness in discovering themselves every week, every month, discovering themselves, Eric, finding new ways to love each other as they themselves are learning how to love themselves differently. That's why we have this conversation.
Right. What's your definition of marriage? I think that it's for me, it's probably a biblical definition of people coming together, blessed by God, to commit themselves through holy matrimony, to forsake the world and to come together as a couple. And so that's what I see as the definition of marriage. I want to share these two things together, this cultural shift and individualism. These are things that are affecting this generation. Norms are changing. There's less pressure within the African American community to marry young, with individuals increasingly prioritizing personal happiness and fulfillment over traditional timelines. And so I'll tell you, for me, here's what I would say to you, that there's no greater joy for me, Tommy, than to hear a house that's filled with an explosion of laughter. I mean, that's what my house is right now. When I listen to Judy, Judy, we were just watching the TV show yesterday and I said something crazy and she just burst into laughter like that was the funniest thing that she had ever heard in her entire life. And that was so fulfilling for me, that we can have that kind of belly laugh together. And wherever she is, in any corner of the house with our children, and I hear the jokes and the laughters that come from deep down within, I know that there's no richer place on earth to be. And that's what I'm saying to young people right now. Do not delay, because what's happening, we're seeing that this generation it's taking them longer to mature. But I'm saying, don't take too much time missing out on the beauty of finding love, what that can do. And I'll tell you, I know my daughter's looking for that. Tommy, it's just not easy for them to find it.
Yeah, and again, I think, Eric, expand the pool.
Yeah.
So if you're in your respective city, let's narrow it down to your specific town or county. The world is bigger than your county.
That's right.
It's bigger than your city.
That's right.
It's bigger than your workplace.
Right.
Right. You find love where love is. Yeah. You don't go find love where love is not.
Right.
You fish where the fish are.
Right.
And so there's multiple ways to fish. You can have the angler fish. That's the standard fishing that we know. Sit on the dock of the bay and you cast the line, right? And as the fish come in, they may take the bait and take a bite, and you got to reel it in.
Right.
Right. And it takes some work, Eric, to reel in that love, that fish. Then you have the fly fishing. Fly fishing is when you literally get into the stream and you flow with the stream. Right. You can see the edges of the stream, the borders of the stream, but you can see fish come by. You can see them in the brook and say, that's someone I'm interested in. Couple of dates, whatever. Not really interested. Had a couple of red flags. I'm going to put that trout back in the stream, let it go on. But I stay in the stream. I'm still positive and optimistic, right? And so in time, you will find and or catch love. You will be a catch. Oh, you're a fantastic catch. Or someone else. Where have you been all my life?
Right.
Then you have the harpoonist. The harpoonist. They go in, right? They see what they like. Heartstrings, mind strings. I'm going to stab you with the spear.
Right.
Come on, let's get married.
Right.
Right. I got limited time. Biological clock is ticking. I got some pressures over here. The career really plateauing where I needed to be, etc. The harpoonist. Sometimes the harpoonist works. Sometimes you can stab too hard and force the issue.
Yeah, buddy.
So I think that with fishing, you have to know yourself. What type of fisher person are you? Right? What are you trying to catch? And what type of catch are you? I enjoy my wife.
Good questions, right?
Because as I've been developing over the last 20 years intentionally,
right,
I've been trying to make myself a better person, spiritually, holistically, psychologically, that people around me can grow, most specifically my wife. I, right now, find great enjoyment listening to my wife and her wisdom. I enjoy hearing the cadence and the calmness. I enjoy listening to, it's not knee-jerk emotional response as much. It's, I've been here for several decades. And now we're just kind of taking the smooth train of love.
I like that, Tommy. And I would say that for me, love is an evolving thing that gets sweeter and deeper over time.
Yes.
When I first met Judy, it was mostly that romantic, that she's fun. And she checks all the boxes that I'm looking for in a woman. And my heart is palpitating because of her physical beauty, her intellectual and spiritual beauty. But I had no idea what was in front of me. I had no idea that years and decades of life, of winters and summers and spring, sort of would marinate that marriage, that she would still be attractive to me, but there would be something even deeper there.
Absolutely.
That would have me put my life down for her because I'm seeing something. And that's what you want to find. You want to be able to go beyond the superficial to get to the, Kendall's saying here, ultimately a decision to sacrifice for one another. At the beginning, you still are coming from your individual, independent places. And I remember when I first started, I was still preferring my family of origin over Judy and her family and even our new thing, because I was loyal to this thing that I was born into. And she was demanding of me that I was going to have to lose my allegiance to that, to leave that, to cleave to this. And I was resistant of that initially. I mean, I remember at times thinking, girl, shoot, you can get in the wind. This is what I grew up with. But man, I saw over the years how God has raised us and matured us. I wouldn't trade Judy for anything.
Eric, this is good conversation. Good conversation. Be it you're married or not, we're trying to find love, defining love for yourself. I would say that, Eric, a big step to finding true love is to find the love within.
Start there, Tommy.
I think so. Finding love within, because, sometimes when we are too broken or too lost in trying to find ourselves or find direction, we may attach to the bright and glitzy thing. It could be the car, it could be the house, it could be the career, it could be the jewelry. And those sparkly things can very well tarnish. And so they tarnish quickly. And if we have not found love from within and attach our happiness and love to another person, be it through cohabitation or through marriage, if for whatever reason both of those wane or reduce, we are lost even more so. We find that with folks who may have been married for X amount of years and had several children, and then now that they're empty nesters, one of the married partners may say, for 20, 30, 40 years, I've never been myself. I've always been a wife or a husband, always been a father or a daughter. I lost myself 30 years ago. It happens.
Right.
But when you have that love from within, you find a new chapter that you're in. You're not going back in the past. I'm not 20 years old anymore. I don't think that way. I don't act like that. I don't speak that way. I am acting, speaking, moving, behaving, worshiping as if I'm 55, 60, 65, 70. The childish games are left for my children.
So, Tommy, here's what I hear you saying. I hear you saying that if you find yourself in search of love and you're sitting around twiddling your thumbs like you don't have anything to do but wait on love, you're saying, oh, no. You got something to do. You got to love yourself. You have to say, let me shower myself with love so that I'm bringing more of a complete person to this relationship. Let me go further. In the Garden of Eden, for those of you that are Christians, before they ate from the tree of life, we were there naked and unashamed. We danced around in here, Adam and Eve, and got nothing on. But then we ate from the tree of life, and then we had to start covering ourselves.
Yes.
And what I want to say to you, community, is that, and this is what I'm looking for in my family right now. I'm looking for the kind of love. You know how when you get up and you go out into the world of work, Tommy, we have to decorate ourselves. We throw on stuff to prepare us for the world and the judgments that they're going to make about us based upon suit, tie, bow tie, glasses. And then I'm saying that you don't want to have to come home and hide the same way. That love, and this is what I'm saying to my family, to my children. I grew up in a home that we were body sensitive around our body. And so we cover up a lot. My children have not seen me around the houses with no shirt on, stuff like that, you know, because I didn't come from a family that was like that. But what I'm beginning to say to my family right now is that I don't want you all to have squishy spots or to have to hide from each other for fear of how we might judge you negatively or say a comment negatively about a role or something like that. So the kind of love that I'm looking for, hoping for, beyond just the romantic love, is this love that says that I accept you for who you are. And everything I want to say to you, about you, think about you, I want that to add to you and not to diminish you.
Yeah, that's good word. That's good word, E. It's been a great conversation. We're already there, right?
Right.
It always goes by it goes by too fast, And so definitely as we're closing out, Eric, I'll turn to you to close it out, and want to again thank our producer Lydia and our community members for joining us today. But I'll turn it to you, Eric, if you don't mind closing out for today.
Community, thank you for joining us for this conversation. If you want to reach out, I've created a marriage readiness survey that people can take, that African Americans specifically, that will help you to understand there are these 5 categories of people that are sort of looking for love and the right relationship. Are you an independent explorer? Are you a career-focused builder? Are you a community-oriented partner? Are you a traditionally inclined romantic? Are you a marriage-ready candidate? This survey may help you or someone that you know to take a look at where they are right now. Tommy and I, this is not the last time that we're going to talk about this conversation. We believe that a part of our assignment in this space of diversity conversations is to try to make the world a better place and to make sure that we're having the right conversations, those that are the most important conversations to sustain us all into the future. We want to thank you for joining us today, and we're looking forward to you joining us again next week for another diversity conversation. Take care now.